Between January and May 1944, the Allies launched 4 massive assaults on the German Gustav Line, an almost impregnable defensive barrier that stretched across central Italy. The goal was simple but deadly: break through the German positions and open the road to Rome. Monte Cassino itself was the heart of this defense. A steep mountain crowned by a 1,000-year-old Benedictine monastery, it towered over the Liri Valley and controlled every road and river crossing in the region. Whoever held Cassino controlled the gateway to northern Italy. The first Allied attack came in January 1944, led by American forces. It failed after days of fighting in cold rain, mud, and relentless machine gun fire. The second attack in February saw the Allies bomb the ancient abbey, believing German troops were using it as a fortress. In reality, the Germans had respected its neutrality until that moment. When the monastery was reduced to rubble, the Germans moved in immediately and turned the ruins into the strongest defensive position in Italy. A third attack in March, involving British, Indian, and New Zealand forces, also failed. The Germans, particularly the elite 1st Parachute Division, used the wreckage of the monastery as cover, repelling every advance. Allied losses climbed into the tens of thousands. Soldiers began to call Cassino hell on the mountain. By April, the Allied command knew something drastic had to change. The next attempt would be all or nothing, a coordinated, multinational offensive involving every available army. It was called Operation Diadem, and at its center stood the Polish II Corps under General Anders. Anders's men had already endured more than most soldiers ever would. Many were survivors of Soviet labor camps in Siberia. Freed after Stalin's 1941 amnesty for Polish prisoners, they traveled thousands of miles through Iran and the Middle East to rejoin the Western Allies. These men had lost their homes, their families, and their country, but they had not lost their will to fight. Monte Cassino was their chance to prove that Poland still lived. In early May 1944, the Poles replaced worn-out British units on the northern slopes of Cassino. They faced the steepest, most fortified ground: Snake's Head Ridge, Phantom Ridge, and Point 593, positions the Germans had turned into natural fortresses. On the night of May 11th, the final assault began. Nearly 2,000 Allied guns roared in unison, lighting up the sky with fire. The Poles advanced immediately after the barrage, climbing through shattered rock and minefields. German mortars and machine guns answered from above. Whole platoons were cut down within minutes, yet the survivors pushed on, crawling forward through dust and smoke. For 3 days, the battle raged without rest. The Poles fought not just against the enemy, but against exhaustion, fear, and despair. Wounded men refused to be carried down the mountain so their comrades could keep moving upward. One survivor later wrote, "It was not a fight for territory, it was a fight for honor." Stop and imagine that for a moment. You've lost everything you ever had, and yet you climb into the fire because your nation's pride depends on it. Would you have had that courage? Tell me in the comments below what you think drives that kind of determination: faith, vengeance, or something else entirely. On May 17th, Anders ordered one last push. After brutal hand-to-hand combat, Polish troops captured Point 593, the key to the mountain's defense. The next morning, the Germans finally withdrew from the ruins of the abbey, unable to hold their ground any longer. At 10:20 a.m. on May 18th, 1944, a patrol from the 12th Podolian Lancers reached the monastery's ruins. They raised a white and red Polish flag above the shattered stones, and a bugler sounded the call of victory. The echo rolled down through the valley where so many had fallen. It was one of the most powerful symbols of Polish courage in the entire war. The Allies had taken Monte Cassino at last, and it was the Poles who had done what no other army could. The cost, however, was devastating. In the final assault alone, The Polish II Corps suffered nearly 3,800 casualties, including 860 killed. Across all four battles, Allied casualties reached around 55,000, while the Germans lost about 20,000. For the Polish II Corps, it was a Pyrrhic victory, a triumph carved from unimaginable sacrifice. When the smoke cleared, the Gustav Line was broken. Within weeks, the Allies marched into Rome. Yet for the Polish soldiers, the joy of victory was shadowed by betrayal. By the end of the war, Poland would fall under Soviet control, and the men who had fought for freedom could not go home. Many settled in exile, in Britain, Canada, or Australia, never again to see the country they had fought for. General Anders himself said it best: "We fought for the freedom of others, but not for our own." Those words still echo through history. Today, a Polish military cemetery lies beneath the mountain, carefully maintained by Italy and Poland together. Over 1,000 white crosses stretch across the slope, each one marking a life given for the dream of a free Europe. At the center stands a stone monument with the inscription, "For our freedom and yours." Every year, visitors leave flowers and candles, and the Polish flag still flies proudly in the wind. From a cemetery, you can look up to the monastery above and imagine the moment that flag first appeared among the ruins in 1944. It's a reminder that even in the darkest moments, courage can change the course of history. The Battle of Monte Cassino was more than a military victory. It was a statement of identity. It proved that Poland, erased from maps, invaded from both sides, betrayed by its supposed allies, still had warriors who refused to surrender. If you found this story powerful, take a second to honor their memory. Leave a comment below. What does courage mean to you? Would you have fought on that mountain? And if you want to hear more real stories of Polish bravery and forgotten moments of World War II, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to know what happened at Monte Cassino, the battle where the Polish flag flew higher than fear.